The envelope sat on my kitchen counter, cream-colored and innocent-looking, but I knew what it held inside could detonate my entire family. Inside was $15,000 worth of loan documents with my signature at the bottom and a spreadsheet I'd spent 3 months compiling. Every receipt, every bank transfer, every single dollar I'd paid for Blair over the last 5 years, calculated down to the interest I could have earned if I'd invested that money instead. The total? $63,417. I stared at it while my phone buzzed for the 47th time that evening. My father's name flashed across the screen. I let it go to voicemail, just like the other 46 calls. Tomorrow, I would hand this envelope to my parents at their 35th wedding anniversary party. Tomorrow, I would walk away from the only family I'd ever known. Tomorrow, my life would finally become my own. But before I tell you how it all ended, you need to understand how it began. If you're someone who's ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever been the one who sacrifices while someone else shines, stay with me. This story might hurt, but I promise you, it ends with freedom. And if you've been there, or you're there now, drop a comment below. Let me know I'm not alone. Hit that subscribe button because you're going to want to see how this unfolds. Trust me, you won't believe where this goes. Let me take you back to where it all started, to the day I realized I was nothing more than a placeholder in my own family's story. I need you to understand something about my family first. From the outside, we looked perfect. My father, Richard Montgomery, built his commercial real estate empire from nothing. He grew up in a trailer park in rural Georgia, worked construction to put himself through community college, then state school, then clawed his way into real estate development. By the time I was born, he was a millionaire. By the time I was 10, he was worth 8 figures. He never let anyone forget where he came from, or how hard he worked to get where he was. My mother, Eleanor, came from old money that had mostly run out by the time she met my father. She brought connections and a pedigree. He brought ambition and cash. Together, they created this image of the perfect American success story. The self-made man and his elegant wife, raising 2 daughters in a sprawling home in Buckhead, the kind of neighborhood where old Southern aristocracy mixed with new money, where the houses had names instead of just addresses. Blair was born when my mother was 26. I came along 5 years later, unplanned. I overheard that fact when I was 12. They made room for me, but they never made space. Blair was golden from the start. Blonde ringlets, blue eyes, the kind of beautiful that made strangers stop to compliment her. She starred in every school play, dated the quarterback, became homecoming queen. Colleges recruited her without her even applying. I had mousy brown hair my mother called interesting, and a tendency to fade into backgrounds. I was quiet, studious, ordinary. I got good grades because I worked for them. And in the Montgomery family, ordinary wasn't acceptable. My father had a saying he repeated constantly, usually at the dinner table while looking at me. Montgomerys don't settle. Montgomerys don't blend in. Montgomerys are exceptional. Blair embodied that. I didn't. And I spent my entire childhood and adolescence trying to figure out how to become exceptional enough to matter. When I was 14, I started keeping a journal. Not the kind where you write about crushes and drama. I kept track of moments, times when my parents forgot to pick me up from school because they were at Blair's volleyball game. Birthdays where my cake was an afterthought, ordered from the grocery store, while Blair's were custom-designed masterpieces from the best bakery in Atlanta. Christmas mornings where Blair's pile of presents dwarfed mine 3-1. I wasn't trying to build a case. I was trying to understand if I was crazy. If I was imagining the difference in how they treated us. Looking back at those journals now, I can see how desperately I was trying to make sense of being the spare instead of the heir. But I didn't understand that yet. I thought if I just worked harder, achieved more, made myself more visible, they would see me. I graduated high school with a 4 and a full scholarship to Georgia State University. Blair graduated 2 years earlier with a 3.2 and a acceptance to Emory, a prestigious private school where the tuition was $55,000 a year. My parents threw her a graduation party with 200 guests, a live band, and a silver Mercedes convertible as a gift. They took me to dinner at the Cheesecake Factory and gave me a check for $500 for college expenses. I told myself it was fine. I told myself that Blair was the firstborn, that parents always make a bigger deal out of the oldest child. I told myself I was lucky to have a scholarship, that I should be grateful I didn't have to burden them with tuition costs. I told myself so many lies that I almost believed them. College was my escape. I moved into a tiny dorm room, threw myself into my accounting courses, and discovered something revolutionary. I was good at this, really good. Numbers made sense in a way people never did. Spreadsheets didn't play favorites. Balance sheets didn't have golden children. In accounting, everything had to reconcile. Everything had to balance. There was a rightness to it that I craved. I graduated summa cum laude in 3.5 years instead of 4, passed my CPA exam on the first try, and landed a position at a mid-sized accounting firm in Atlanta. The starting salary was $38,000 a year. It felt like all the money in the world. I was 22, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I mattered somewhere. My boss, a woman named Patricia Chen, who'd been with the firm for 20 years, saw something in me. She gave me challenging accounts, stayed late to mentor me, pushed me to think strategically instead of just technically. "You have an instinct for this, Audrey," she told me once. "You see patterns other people miss. Don't waste that gift." I rented a studio apartment in Virginia Highland, a trendy neighborhood I could barely afford. 400 square feet with a Murphy bed, a kitchenette, and a window that overlooked a vintage clothing store. The building was old, the plumbing was questionable, and I'd never been happier. It was mine. Every stick of furniture I bought from IKEA, every plant I managed not to kill, every dish in my tiny cabinet was mine, paid for with money I'd earned. Blair, meanwhile, had dropped out of Emory after 2 years. She'd decided college wasn't for her, that she was an entrepreneur at heart. My parents had been disappointed for approximately 48 hours before Blair pitched them on her vision. She was going to open a boutique. High-end women's fashion, curated pieces, personal styling services. It would be revolutionary. It would be the next big thing in Atlanta retail. My parents gave her $50,000 to start. But before the boutique, before the real nightmare began, there was the summer I turned 22. The summer everything started to crack. I'd been at my firm for 3 months. I was still in that phase where I arrived early and left late, trying to prove I deserved to be there. One Thursday evening in July, I was working on a complex reconciliation for a manufacturing client when my phone rang. Blair's name lit up the screen. We weren't particularly close. We were sisters, the way people who grow up in the same house are sisters. We knew each other's habits and quirks, but we didn't really know each other. She called me maybe once a month, usually when she wanted something or was bored. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Audrey?" Her voice was strange, tight, almost scared. "Blair? What's wrong?" "I need you to come to my apartment, right now. Don't tell Mom and Dad." My stomach dropped. "Are you hurt? Do you need me to call someone?" "No, just, please. I can't explain on the phone." I grabbed my keys and drove to her place, a luxury apartment in Midtown that my parents paid for. The building had a doorman and a rooftop pool, and the kind of lobby that made my studio feel like a closet. I'd been there once before, for a housewarming party where Blair's friends had looked through me like I was made of glass. When she opened the door, I barely recognized her. She was wearing sweatpants and a tank top, no makeup, her hair in a messy bun. Blair never looked less than perfect. Even running to the grocery store, she was camera ready. But that night, she looked terrified. "What happened?" I stepped inside. The apartment was a mess. Not regular messy, disaster messy. Papers everywhere, laptop open on the coffee table, half-empty wine bottles lined up on the counter. She burst into tears, not pretty crying. Ugly, snotty, gasping sobs. I stood there awkwardly, not sure what to do. We weren't a hugging family. We didn't do physical comfort. But she looked so broken that I put my arms around her, and she collapsed against me. It took 20 minutes to get the story out between sobs. She'd been accepted to a summer study abroad program in Paris. Fashion merchandising, 6 weeks, all expenses paid except for the $15,000 program fee. She'd told Mom and Dad it was fully funded. She'd spent the money they gave her for summer expenses on the trip deposit and a shopping spree. The program was supposed to start in 2 weeks. The final payment was due in 72 hours. She didn't have it. "I thought I could win it," she kept saying. "I went to the casino with some friends. I was up 3,000. I could have covered it, but then I lost. I kept thinking I could win it back. I can't tell Mom and Dad. They think I'm in a marketing internship. If they find out I lied, that I gambled, they'll lose it. Audrey, please. I'll pay you back, I promise, as soon as I get my trust fund distribution in September." I should have said no. Every instinct I had screamed at me to walk away. But she was my sister, and she was looking at me like I was the only person in the world who could save her. When had anyone ever looked at me like I mattered that much? "I need to see the program details," I heard myself say. "If I'm going to loan you $15,000, I need to know it's legitimate." She showed me everything. The acceptance letter, the program schedule, the payment portal. It was real. It was prestigious. It could actually help her career. Maybe this was the thing that would finally make her grow up, become responsible. I was so stupid. The next day, I went to my bank. I'd been saving for a car. My Corolla was 12 years old and making concerning noises. I had $8,000 in savings. I took out a personal loan for $15,000 at 7% interest. The monthly payment would be $287, almost 10% of my take-home pay. The loan officer, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a skeptical expression, looked at me over her reading glasses. This is a personal loan, not a student loan. You understand the interest rate is higher? I understand. And you're borrowing this money for yourself? I hesitated. Family educational expenses. Uh-huh. She clearly didn't believe me. Honey, I've been doing this job for 23 years. Let me give you some advice. Don't loan money to family unless you're prepared to never see it again. And if you do it anyway, get it in writing. It'll be fine, I said, with a confidence I absolutely didn't feel. We're close. She printed out the paperwork. I signed my name 12 times. The money hit Blair's account that afternoon. She called me crying with gratitude. You're the best sister ever, Audrey. I'll never forget this. I'm going to make you so proud. 2 days later, she posted on Instagram a photo of her at the airport, designer luggage beside her, wearing Chanel sunglasses. The caption, "Paris, here I come, ready for the summer of a lifetime." A week after that, while I was eating ramen for the third night in a row because I was trying to adjust my budget to the loan payments, she posted a photo from the Champs-Élysées. She was wearing a new outfit. Head-to-toe designer. The kind of outfit that costs more than my monthly rent. I stared at that photo for a long time. I zoomed in on the shopping bags in the background. Hermès, Dior, Louis Vuitton. She'd gone to Paris on my dime and immediately gone shopping. I called her. She didn't answer. I texted her. She responded 6 hours later. Sorry, so busy with the program. It's amazing. Miss you. I wanted to demand my money back. I wanted to tell my parents what really happened. I wanted to stop being such a doormat. But I didn't do any of those things. I told myself it was fine. It was just one loan. She'd pay me back in September. It would all be fine. September came. Her trust fund distribution was $12,000. She bought a car. A silver Audi, for $45,000. She posted a photo with the caption, "Worked so hard for this. Dreams do come true." When I asked about the loan repayment, she said, "Audrey, come on. I needed a car. How was I supposed to get to job interviews? I'll get you the money from my first paycheck." She didn't get a job. She didn't look for a job. She spent the fall planning her boutique. That's when the pattern really started. The requests were always urgent. Always had a reasonable explanation. Always came with promises of repayment that never materialized. Can you loan me $3,000 for first month's rent on a commercial space? The landlord needs it today or we lose the location. I'll pay you back from the boutique profits. Can you cover my car payment this month? Cash flow issue with the boutique build-out. I'll get you back next month. Can you loan me $5,000 for inventory? There's a designer sample sale, but it's cash only. This could make or break the business. Every time, I told myself it was the last time. Every time, I added the amount to the spreadsheet I'd started keeping. Not because I planned to do anything with it, just because I needed to see it. Needed to quantify what I was giving away. My parents knew I was helping Blair financially. They thought it was wonderful. My mother actually said to me once, over Sunday dinner, "It's so nice that you're able to support your sister's dreams, Audrey. Not everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur. Some people are better suited to stable, ordinary jobs. You're playing to your strengths by helping Blair play to hers." I'd smiled and nodded and excused myself to the bathroom where I dry-heaved into the toilet. Blair's boutique opened 2 years after I took out that first loan. It was called Blair Aesthetic, and it was exactly what you'd expect. White walls, gold fixtures, minimalist display racks with a handful of outrageously expensive pieces. The kind of store where you need an appointment to shop and the staff looks at you like you're trash if you ask about prices. The grand opening was a massive event. My parents invited everyone they knew. There was champagne, catered hors d'oeuvres, a press photographer. Local fashion bloggers came. Blair wore a white jumpsuit and held court like a queen. I stood in the corner in my department store dress, watching people congratulate my parents on raising such an ambitious, talented daughter. Not one person asked what I did for a living. Not one person acknowledged that I existed beyond being Blair's sister. My father gave a speech. He talked about the importance of supporting your children's dreams, about how proud he was to have a daughter willing to take risks, to be bold, to build something. He never once looked at me. That night, I drove home to my studio apartment and sat in my car in the parking lot for an hour. I couldn't make myself go inside. I couldn't make myself do anything except sit there and feel the weight of my own insignificance. My phone rang. Patricia, my boss. Audrey, sorry to call so late. Are you free to talk? Sure. My voice sounded hollow. I have a proposition for you. We just landed a major new client. National restaurant chain, 200 locations. They're facing an IRS audit. It's complex, high stakes, and I need someone brilliant to lead the team. Someone who can see the patterns, build the defense, and handle the pressure. I want you. Me? You. This could make your career, Audrey. But I need to know you're ready. It's going to be intense. 6 months, minimum. Long hours, high stress. But if you pull it off, we're talking senior accountant, maybe even manager track. Say yes. I thought about Blair in her white boutique, basking in praise for a business I'd partially funded. I thought about my father's speech, about being invisible at a party I'd helped pay for. I thought about my tiny apartment and my ramen dinners and my mountain of loans. Yes, I said, I'm ready. I worked on that audit like my life depended on it. Because in a way, it did. It was the only place where my effort mattered, where excellence was recognized, where I could prove I wasn't just ordinary. I spent 16-hour days combing through financial records, finding discrepancies, building arguments, anticipating challenges. I taught myself new tax codes, studied case law, consulted with attorneys. I became obsessed. The restaurant chain's books became more familiar to me than my own life. My team was exhausted. I was beyond exhausted. I stopped going to Sunday dinners. I stopped answering calls unless they were work-related. I stopped existing outside of that case. And we won. 8 months of work. And we won. The IRS assessment went from $6.8 million down to $2.6 million. We saved them $4.2 million. The client was thrilled. Patricia was thrilled. The partners were thrilled. They promoted me to senior accountant. $22,000 raise. At 25, I was one of the youngest senior accountants in the firm's history. I called my parents to tell them. My mother answered, Mom, I got promoted. Senior accountant, the restaurant chain case we won. It was huge. That's wonderful, honey. Her voice was distracted. Listen, can I call you back? We're at the boutique. Blair is having a situation with a supplier. Sure, no problem. She never called back. The next Sunday dinner I attended, 3 weeks later, my father made a toast. To Blair, who just signed her first celebrity client. Some reality TV star wants her as a personal stylist. This could put the boutique on the map. Everyone raised their glasses. I sat there with my untouched wine, watching my sister bask in the attention. She'd signed one client, a D-list personality from a show I'd never heard of. I'd saved a company $4 million and gotten a major promotion. But her one client was worthy of a toast, and my promotion wasn't worth a returned phone call. After dinner, I helped my mother clear the table. In the kitchen, I tried again. Mom, about my promotion. It's actually a really big deal. I'm being put on partner track. She loaded plates into the dishwasher without looking at me. That's nice, Audrey. You've always been good with numbers. Blair, though, she's got that special something. That star quality. Not everyone has it. I know, I said quietly. You should be proud of your sister instead of trying to compete with her. It's not attractive. I wasn't trying to compete. I was trying to exist, but I didn't say that. The pattern continued. I worked, I paid Blair's debts, I attended family dinners where I was invisible. And something inside me started to calcify. Not anger yet, something harder. A kind of cold resignation. I was 26 when I stopped crying about it. 26 when I realized that no amount of achievement was going to make them see me. 26 when I started planning my exit, even if I didn't consciously know that's what I was doing. I started saving money more aggressively, not for anything specific, just because having savings felt like having options, and options felt like oxygen. I maxed out my 401k contributions. I put money into a high-yield savings account. I cut my expenses to the bone. I learned to cook cheap meals that weren't just ramen. I stopped buying anything that wasn't essential. Blair, meanwhile, was bleeding money. The boutique was always on the verge of something big. About to get a feature in a magazine. About to sign a partnership with a brand. About to break even. It never did. She was perpetually 3 months away from success, and every 3 months required another infusion of cash to keep the doors open. Sometimes the requests came from her. Sometimes from my parents, couched as family helping family, or we all need to support Blair's dream. I paid because refusing seemed harder than complying. Because every time I thought about saying no, I imagined the fallout. The guilt trips, the accusations of selfishness, the inevitable family meeting where I'd be painted as the villain. It was easier to pay and fade into the background. But I kept the receipts, every single one. I documented everything in that spreadsheet. Dates, amounts, what the money was supposedly for, what it actually went to when I found out later. I didn't know why I was doing it. It felt important, like keeping evidence of my own sanity. Then came the promotion to senior tax manager, the one that changed everything, even though I didn't see it coming. I was 27. I'd been working on a case involving a regional grocery store chain with incredibly complex tax situations across multiple states. They'd been audited 3 years running, and they were desperate for someone who could not only handle the current audit but restructure their entire tax strategy to prevent future issues. I spent a year on it. A full year of my life, diving deep into multi-state tax law, building relationships with the client's CFO, creating systems that would save them money and headaches for years to come. It was the kind of work that makes you fall asleep with tax codes swimming through your dreams. The kind of work that makes you forget what day it is, because time stops meaning anything when you're that deep in a problem. When the audit concluded, we hadn't just defended them, we'd found ways to recapture $2.1 million in overpaid taxes from previous years. The CFO called me personally to thank me. "You didn't just save us money, Audrey. You probably saved my job. I can't thank you enough." The partners called me into a meeting, all 5 of them, sitting around the massive conference table. For a moment, I thought I'd done something wrong. My heart was racing. Then Robert Fairfax, the founding partner, smiled. "Audrey, we've been watching your career very closely. The restaurant chain case was impressive. This grocery store case was extraordinary. You have a gift for complex tax situations that most accountants spend decades developing. We'd like to offer you a promotion to senior tax manager." Patricia, sitting to his right, was beaming. "You're the youngest person we've ever promoted to this position. The salary is $98,000 base, plus performance bonuses that could add another $20,000 to $30,000. You'll have your own office, your own team, and you'll be working directly with our most important clients." I tried to speak. Nothing came out. My throat had closed up. I was going to cry in front of the partners. I was going to make a fool of myself. "Take a moment," Patricia said gently. "This is a big deal." "I accept," I managed to whisper. "Thank you, I won't let you down." I walked out of that office in a daze. $98,000. My own office. My own team. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. Through sheer force of will and endless hours and refusing to settle, I'd become exceptional in my own right. I called my parents immediately. I couldn't wait for Sunday dinner. I needed them to know right now. I needed them to be proud of me right now, my father answered. "Audrey, this isn't a great time. We're at a charity gala. Can this wait?" "Dad, I just got promoted. Senior tax manager. It's a huge position. I'll be making almost 6 figures. There was a pause. Background noise of tinkling glasses and polite laughter. "Well, that's good, Audrey. Nice to see your hard work paying off. Listen, I need to go. We'll talk Sunday." He hung up. He didn't say he was proud. He didn't ask for details. He didn't even sound particularly interested. I stood in the parking lot of my office building, staring at my phone, feeling the high of my promotion deflate like a punctured balloon. Sunday dinner. Right. I'd tell them properly then. With my mother's pot roast and my father's attention and maybe, finally, they'd see me. Sunday came. I arrived early, helped my mother in the kitchen like always, set the table with the good china, polished the silver, poured water into crystal glasses. Blair arrived late, breezing in with shopping bags and apologies about traffic. We sat down to eat. I waited for the right moment, but my father started talking about a new development project, and my mother brought up some issue with the garden club, and Blair mentioned she was thinking about expanding the boutique into online sales. Finally, over dessert, I cleared my throat. "I have some news to share." My mother looked up from her peach cobbler. My father continued eating. Blair was on her phone. "I got promoted last week, senior tax manager. It's one of the highest positions in the firm for someone my age. I'll be managing major accounts, leading a team of 5 accountants, and working directly with the partners. My mother smiled, the kind of polite smile you give a stranger. That's lovely, dear. You've always been so good at your job. My father set down his fork. Senior manager? That's nice. Steady position. Good benefits, I assume? Yes, and the salary is... Speaking of careers, my father interrupted, turning to Blair. Tell Audrey about the fashion show. Blair looked up from her phone, her face lighting up. Oh my God, yes! So there's this huge charity fashion show in November, really exclusive, and they asked me to provide some pieces for the runway. It's not confirmed yet, but if it happens, it could get the boutique so much exposure. That's wonderful, Blair, my mother said, her voice warm in a way it never was when she spoke to me. You're really making a name for yourself in the fashion world. My father raised his wine glass. To Blair, always reaching for the stars. That's what I love about you, sweetheart. You're never satisfied with good enough. You always want great. They clinked glasses. Blair beamed. I sat there with my untouched cobbler, invisible once again. After dinner, I helped clean up. In the kitchen, my mother rinsed plates while I loaded the dishwasher. I tried one more time. Mom, about my promotion. It's actually a really significant achievement. There are people who work their entire careers and never reach this level. She handed me a plate without looking at me. I'm sure it is, Audrey. But you have to understand, Blair's working in a creative field. It's more competitive, more visible. Your job is important, but it's also rather technical. Most people don't really understand what accountants do. Do you understand what I do? She paused, actually looked at me for a moment. You work with numbers. You help companies with taxes. It's important work, Audrey. But it's not exactly exciting. Not exciting, not exactly, rather technical. These qualifiers felt like tiny cuts, precise and deliberate. And frankly, she continued, lowering her voice, you should be focusing on supporting your sister instead of trying to compete with her. She needs us right now. The boutique is at a critical juncture. This fashion show could change everything. I'm not competing with her. Good. Because you know as well as I do that Blair has something special. Not everyone can be the star, Audrey. Some people are meant to be in supporting roles. There's no shame in that. I dried my hands on a dish towel very carefully. If I didn't focus on something physical, I was going to scream. Or cry. Or both. I think I'm going to head out early. Already? We haven't even had coffee. I have work to finish. Big case starting tomorrow. It was a lie. I had nothing to do except go home and sit in my apartment and try to understand why nothing I did would ever be enough. In the foyer, putting on my jacket, Blair caught me. Hey, can I talk to you for a second? We stepped onto the front porch. It was a warm September evening, the kind where the air smells like cut grass and possibility. Blair leaned against one of the white columns, looking uncomfortable. That's awesome about your promotion, she said. Really, I know I didn't say it in there, but I'm happy for you. Thanks. So, listen, I kind of need a favor. Of course she did. The fashion show I mentioned, I need to produce 20 pieces for the runway. That's going to cost about $12,000 for fabric, production, models, fittings, all of it. But if this goes well, the exposure could bring in 6 figures of business. It's a huge opportunity. And you need me to loan you the money. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important, and I'll definitely pay you back this time. Like, contractually pay you back. We can draw up paperwork if you want. I looked at my sister, 28 years old, beautiful, charming, perpetually on the verge of success. And me, 27, accomplished in ways no one in my family valued, perpetually opening my wallet. I'll think about it, I said. Audrey, I need to know by next week. The show is in November. I have to start production. I said I'll think about it. I drove home with my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I didn't cry. I was beyond crying. I was in that place past anger and sadness, that flat wasteland where you feel nothing because feeling anything would break you. In my apartment, I opened my laptop and looked at the spreadsheet. $61,417. That's what I'd paid for Blair over the last 5 years. None of it repaid, all of it taken for granted. I added a new line. Fashion show request, $12,000, pending. Then I did something I'd never done before. I opened my browser and started looking at jobs in other cities. Not because I was serious about leaving, just because I needed to know I had options, just because I needed to feel like I wasn't completely trapped. Boston kept coming up. Several major accounting firms were hiring for positions at my level. The cost of living was higher than Atlanta, but the salaries were proportionally higher too. It was far enough away that I couldn't just drive home for Sunday dinners. Far enough away to be free. I applied to 3 positions. Why not? It wasn't like I was actually going to take them. I just wanted to see if I could get interviews. Just wanted to know if my accomplishments meant something outside of my family's narrow perception of value. All 3 companies requested interviews within a week. I scheduled them all for the same trip, told my firm I needed a long weekend for personal reasons. I flew to Boston on a Friday morning in early October. The leaves were starting to turn, the air had that crisp autumn bite, and the city felt alive in a way Atlanta never did to me. The first interview was at a firm specializing in corporate tax law. The second was at a financial consulting company. The third was at Preston and Associates, a mid-sized firm that worked with a mix of corporations and high-net-worth individuals. Preston and Associates felt right from the moment I walked in. The office was in a historic building in the financial district, all exposed brick and tall windows. The managing partner, David Preston, was a no-nonsense man in his 50s who reminded me of Patricia. He looked at my resume, then looked at me. "You're 27? "Yes." "And you're already senior tax manager?" "Yes." "Tell me about the grocery store case." I told him, not in the rehearsed way I'd prepared, but the real story. The problem-solving, the late nights, the moment I realized the key to their multi-state tax issue was buried in an obscure regulation from 1997 that no one was applying correctly. I told him about the satisfaction of untangling something impossible, of building a system that would work for years instead of just solving an immediate problem. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "You're not looking at Atlanta firms?" "I'm exploring options." "Why Boston?" I could have lied. Should have lied. Given him some professional answer about career growth and opportunities. Instead, I told him the truth. I need to be somewhere where I'm not invisible. He studied me for a long moment. "I'm going to be direct with you, Audrey. You're overqualified for the position we advertised. But I've been thinking about creating a specialized role, someone to head up our complex tax division. Multi-state, international, corporate restructuring, the cases that make other accountants cry. You'd build your own team, set your own priorities, 105,000 base, plus bonuses. I think you could handle it. Question is, do you think you could handle it?" "Yes," I said without hesitation. "Good. I'll send you a formal offer by Wednesday." I flew back to Atlanta in a daze. $105,000, my own division. A fresh start in a city where no one knew my family. No one had expectations of me. No one would compare me to Blair. The offer came on Tuesday, not Wednesday. It was generous. Signing bonus of $10,000. Full relocation assistance. 4 weeks vacation. Start date of January 2nd, giving me 2 months to transition. I read that offer letter 5 times. Then I printed it, put it in a folder, and hid it in my desk drawer. I didn't tell anyone. Not my friends. Not my boss. Not my family. I carried this secret like a bomb in my chest, ticking down. That Sunday, I went to dinner at my parents' house. Blair cornered me as soon as I arrived. "So? Did you think about the fashion show loan?" "I'm not going to loan you the money, Blair." Her face went through a series of expressions: surprise, confusion, then anger. "What? Why not? You always help me." "That's the problem. I always help you. And you never pay me back." "I will this time. I'll draw up a contract." "Like you did the last 3 times?" "Audrey, come on. This is a huge opportunity. I need your support." "I support you by existing as your personal ATM. I'm done." "You're being selfish." That word hit me like a slap. Selfish. Me. The person who'd sacrificed my 20s to fund her dream. You know what, Blair? Maybe I am. Maybe it's time I start being selfish. I walked past her into the dining room. My parents were already seated. I sat down in my usual spot, across from Blair's empty chair. When she came in a minute later, her eyes were red. My mother immediately noticed. "Darling, what's wrong?" "Ask Audrey," Blair said, her voice tight. All eyes turned to me. "Here we go. I told Blair I wouldn't loan her money for the fashion show," I said calmly. "She's upset." My father set down his wine glass. "You told her what?" I said no. I'm not giving her any more money. "It's not giving, it's loaning," my mother said, her voice sharp. "And she's your sister. Family helps family. I've helped for 5 years. I'm done helping." My father's face was reddening. "Audrey, Blair has a real opportunity here. This fashion show could be her big break. She needs $12,000. You make good money now. You can afford it. Can I? Because I'm still paying off the loans I took out to cover her previous opportunities. What are you talking about? My mother looked genuinely confused. I laughed. Actually laughed. You don't even know, do you? You have no idea how much money I've given Blair. I'm sure it's not that much, Eleanor said dismissively. $61,417, over 5 years. None of it repaid. The room went silent. My father stared at me. My mother's hand went to her throat. Blair was looking down at her plate. That can't be right, my father said finally. I have receipts. Every loan, every transfer, every emergency. I can show you the spreadsheet if you don't believe me. Audrey is exaggerating, Blair said quickly. It wasn't that much. It was exactly that much. The Paris trip, the car payment, the boutique inventory, the rent, the emergencies that were never emergencies, all of it on my credit, my loans, my dime. My mother reached over and squeezed Blair's hand. I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding. Blair wouldn't take advantage of you like that. She wouldn't? I felt something breaking loose inside me, 5 years of swallowed words finally finding their way out. She's done nothing but take advantage of me. And you've encouraged it. Every time she needed money, you told me to help her. Every time I tried to say no, you made me feel guilty. You've turned me into her personal bank account. That's not fair, my father said. We've never forced you to do anything. You didn't have to force me. You guilt-tripped me. You made me feel like I owed it to the family. Like being a good sister meant sacrificing everything for Blair while she sacrificed nothing for anyone. I'm building a business, Blair shouted. That takes money. I've been working my ass off. Working your ass off shopping and posting on Instagram while I work 16-hour days to pay your debts. Girls, please. My mother's voice had that strained quality that meant she was about to cry. This is family dinner. Can we not do this here? Where else would we do it, Mom? You never return my calls. Dad hangs up when I try to tell him about my job. The only time this family comes together is Sunday dinner, and even then, all we talk about is Blair. Because Blair is doing interesting things, my father said, his voice hard. She's building something. She's taking risks. What are you doing? Punching numbers into a computer? That's not exactly dinner table conversation. There it was. The thing I'd always known but never heard said out loud. I was boring. I was ordinary. I was the daughter who didn't matter. I stood up. My chair scraped against the hardwood floor. I'm leaving. Audrey, sit down, my father commanded. We're not finished eating. I'm finished. I'm finished with these dinners, with being invisible, with funding Blair's disasters while she gets all the credit. I'm done. Don't be dramatic, my mother said. You're overreacting to a simple disagreement. This isn't a simple disagreement. This is 5 years of being treated like an ATM and an afterthought. This is a lifetime of being the wrong daughter. No one said you were the wrong daughter, Eleanor protested weakly. You didn't have to say it. You've shown me every day of my life. Blair is the golden child. I'm the spare. The backup. The one you only notice when you need something. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Blair followed me. Audrey, wait. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't realize it was that much money. I'll pay you back. I will. When? With what money? Your boutique is hemorrhaging cash. You haven't turned a profit in 2 years. You're not going to pay me back because you can't pay me back. So what, you're just going to abandon me? Leave me to fail? I'm not abandoning you. I'm stopping enabling you. There's a difference. I walked out of that house and drove home. My phone started ringing before I even got to my car. My father. I ignored it. Then my mother. Ignored. Then Blair. I turned my phone off entirely. In my apartment, I opened my laptop and looked at the offer letter from Preston and Associates. $105,000. A new city. A fresh start. I typed out an acceptance email. My hands were shaking so badly I had to retype it 3 times. Finally, I got it right. Professional, gracious, excited about the opportunity. I read it one more time, my finger hovering over the send button. If I sent this email, everything would change. I'd have to give notice at my current firm. I'd have to tell my family I was moving across the country. I'd have to pack up my life and start over somewhere I didn't know anyone. I'd be alone. But I was already alone. At least in Boston, I wouldn't be invisible. I hit send. The next day, I gave notice at my firm. Patricia was disappointed but understanding. Boston's gain is our loss, she said. But I'm proud of you, Audrey. You're going to do amazing things. Someone was proud of me. It shouldn't have meant so much, but it did. I didn't tell my family for 2 weeks. I let them call and leave voicemails. I let them send texts ranging from angry to apologetic. I needed space to solidify my decision, to make it real before they could talk me out of it. Finally, my mother texted, "You're still coming to the anniversary party, right? Please. We need to talk about what happened at dinner. As a family." The anniversary party. Their 35th. The invitations had gone out months ago. It was going to be huge, 200 people at the country club. And I was expected to be there, smiling and supportive and invisible as always. I texted back, "I'll be there." I spent the next month quietly preparing. I sold my furniture on Facebook Marketplace. I donated clothes to Goodwill. I boxed up my books, my kitchen supplies, my life. I packed everything into my car, bit by bit, so I'd be ready to leave immediately after the party. And I finalized that spreadsheet. Every loan, every transfer, every lie Blair had told about paying me back. I added the emails where my parents had asked me to help just this once. I included the Instagram posts of Blair's shopping sprees, timed perfectly with when I was eating ramen to afford her loan payments. I created a timeline that showed exactly how my 20s had been consumed by funding my sister's lifestyle. I printed it all out. Put it in a cream-colored envelope that matched their anniversary party invitations. And I waited. The party was on a Saturday night. I spent the day driving around Atlanta, saying goodbye to places I'd never particularly loved, but that had been mine. My tiny studio apartment, the coffee shop where I'd studied for my CPA exam, Patricia's office, where I dropped off a thank you gift for everything she'd taught me. At 5 p.m., I put on the simple black dress I'd chosen for the occasion. I did my makeup carefully. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back. There was something different in my eyes, something hard and bright and free. I put the envelope in my purse. I drove to the country club. The parking lot was already full, valet attendants directing traffic. I handed over my keys, took my ticket, and walked into the ballroom where my parents had orchestrated their perfect celebration of 35 years of marriage. The room was exactly what I'd expected. White and gold everywhere, crystal chandeliers, round tables with silk cloths, a string quartet playing softly. People in cocktail attire, sipping champagne, congratulating Richard and Eleanor Montgomery on their remarkable partnership. Blair was holding court near the head table in a gold gown that probably cost more than my car. She saw me and her expression flickered. Surprise, then something like fear. She started walking toward me, but I moved away, toward the bar. I ordered a vodka tonic I had no intention of drinking, and positioned myself where I could see the whole room but remain mostly unnoticed. I watched my parents greet their guests, accepting congratulations and well wishes. They looked so happy, so successful, the perfect couple, the perfect family. As long as you didn't look too closely. An hour into the party, after dinner had been served but before dessert, my father stood up. Someone dimmed the lights slightly. The string quartet stopped playing. Everyone turned their attention to the head table. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Richard's voice boomed through the microphone. He was a natural performer, comfortable with attention. "Eleanor and I are overwhelmed by your love and support. 35 years ago, I married the most beautiful woman in the world, and she's given me everything I could have ever wanted: a successful business, a beautiful home, and 2 daughters. He paused for effect. I watched him scan the room, his eyes finding Blair first. She was beaming at him, radiant in her gold dress. Then his gaze shifted, searching until he found me in the back, by the bar. Our eyes met. Something cold and satisfied crossed his face. "We have 2 daughters," he continued, his voice taking on a different tone. "One who makes us proud beyond measure, who has entrepreneurial spirit and vision, who's everything we hoped our children would be." He raised his glass toward Blair. "Blair, sweetheart, you've exceeded every dream we had for you. You're extraordinary." The room erupted in applause. Blair bowed slightly, playing to the crowd. My mother stood beside my father, her hand on his arm, her face glowing with pride. When the applause died down, my father's expression changed. He looked directly at me, and there was no love in that look, no pride, nothing but dismissal. "And we have another daughter who, well, she tries, but she's never quite understood what it means to be part of this family. She's never had that spark, that drive. Some children make you proud." He paused for dramatic effect. "Others just take up space." The room went silent. 200 people turned to look at me. I felt their eyes like physical weight, saw their faces, shock, pity, judgment. Some of them were smirking, enjoying the drama. Some looked uncomfortable. None of them looked surprised. This was who I was to them. The daughter who took up space. Blair was smiling, not broadly, just a small, satisfied curve of her lips. She'd won. She'd always been winning, and now everyone knew it. My mother stood beside my father, saying nothing, not defending me, not even looking uncomfortable. Just standing there, complicit in my humiliation. I should have felt devastated, should have wanted to run, to hide, to disappear into the floor. Instead, I felt something else entirely. Clarity. Pure crystalline clarity. I wasn't going to slink away. I wasn't going to pretend this was okay. I wasn't going to protect their image or their feelings or their perfect party. I was going to tell the truth. I set my drink down on the nearest table. The clink of glass on wood cut through the silence. Every eye in the room followed me as I walked forward, my heels clicking against the marble floor with deliberate precision. I wasn't hurrying. I was taking my time, letting them wait, letting the tension build. When I reached the head table, I stood directly across from my parents. I could see Blair in my peripheral vision, her smile fading into confusion. I pulled the envelope from my purse and held it up so everyone could see it. "You're absolutely right, Dad," I said, my voice clear and steady. "I do take up space. I've been taking up space in your lives for 27 years. The daughter who wasn't quite good enough. The one you called when you needed someone to bail out Blair. The one you forgot about when it was time to celebrate anything." My father's face started to redden. "Audrey, this is not the time or place." "But you made it the time and place," I interrupted. "You're the one who decided to publicly humiliate me at your anniversary party. So let's finish the conversation you started." I held up the envelope. "This is for you. It's a complete accounting of the last 5 years of my life. Every loan I took out to cover Blair's expenses. Every transfer from my account to hers. Every promise of repayment that never materialized. The total is $63,417. I heard gasps from the crowd, whispers starting to ripple through the room. "I have every receipt, every text message, every email where you told me I needed to be a better sister. Every Instagram post where Blair showed off her latest purchase while I was eating ramen because I couldn't afford groceries after paying her debts." I placed the envelope on the table in front of my father. "It's all in there. Bank statements, loan documents. The timeline of exactly how my 20s were consumed by funding Blair's lifestyle, while you praised her for being entrepreneurial." I turned to face Blair. She'd gone pale, her hands clutching the back of a chair. "You told me you'd pay me back. Every single time. You looked me in the eye and promised. You never did. Not once, not $1. "Audrey, I can explain," she started. "No, you can't. There's no explanation that makes this okay. You used me. You used my love for you, my desire to be a good sister, my desperate need for this family to value me. You used all of it to fund your boutique and your shopping and your fantasy life while I worked myself to exhaustion." I turned back to my parents. My mother had tears running down her face, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no guilt, nothing but this cold, bright freedom. "And you," I said, looking at my father, "you called me boring, said I'm not dinner table conversation. Do you want to know what I do? I'm a senior tax manager. I've saved my clients millions of dollars. I've built a reputation in my field that people twice my age haven't achieved. But you never asked about it. You never cared, because I'm not Blair." "We've always cared about you," my mother whispered. "No, you haven't. You've tolerated me, you've used me, but you've never actually cared about me as a person. I'm just the supporting character in Blair's story, the ATM with a pulse, the daughter who took up space." I pulled another paper from my purse. "This is my official resignation from the family. As of tomorrow, I'm moving to Boston. I've already accepted a position at a firm that actually values what I bring to the table. You won't be able to call me for loans. You won't be able to guilt me into funding Blair's next disaster. You won't be able to use me anymore." My father found his voice. "You can't just walk away from your family." "Watch me," I said. "I've already done it. My apartment is empty. My car is packed. After I walk out of this room, you will never see me again unless I choose otherwise. And I probably won't choose otherwise." I looked at Blair one more time. She was crying now, her perfect makeup running. I hope your fashion show is everything you dreamed. I hope the boutique finally turns a profit. I hope you figure out how to stand on your own 2 feet, but you'll have to do it without me." I turned to address the room full of guests who'd just witnessed a family imploding. "I apologize for interrupting your evening. Please, enjoy the rest of the party." I'm sure my parents will have a wonderful explanation for what just happened. They're very good at crafting narratives that make them look good. I walked out of that ballroom with 200 pairs of eyes burning into my back. I heard my father call my name once, his voice sharp with command and fury. I didn't turn around. I heard my mother's heels clicking on the marble floor behind me, heard her calling, "Audrey, wait, please." I kept walking. I handed my valet ticket to the attendant, waited for my car in the warm October air. My mother caught up to me, breathless, her face streaked with tears and mascara. "Audrey, please, come back inside. We can talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about. You embarrassed us in front of everyone we know. How could you do that? How could you let Dad humiliate me in front of everyone you know? How could you stand there and say nothing while he told 200 people that I'm worthless?" "He didn't say you were worthless. He said I take up space. That's worse than worthless. That's invisible." And you agreed with him. You stood there and agreed with him. I didn't agree. You didn't disagree. You never disagree. You never defend me. You never choose me. Not once in 27 years have you ever chosen me over Blair. The valet pulled up with my car. I took the keys, tipped him. My mother grabbed my arm. "Where will you go? What will you do?" "I'm going to live my life, Mom. The one I should have been living all along. The one where I matter. You matter to us." "No, I don't. And I'm done pretending that you'll ever see me the way you see Blair. I'm done trying to earn love that should have been free." I got in my car. My mother stood in the driveway, lit by the soft glow of the country club entrance, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I drove away and I didn't look back, not once. I made it to the highway before the shaking started. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, my whole body vibrating with adrenaline and terror and exhilaration. I pulled into a rest stop, sat in the parking lot under fluorescent lights, and let myself fall apart. I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. Cried for the little girl who'd been ignored at her own birthday parties. Cried for the teenager who thought if she just worked harder, achieved more, maybe they'd love her. Cried for the 20-something who'd sacrificed her financial security and her dreams to fund someone else's fantasy. But I also cried because I was free. Because I'd finally said everything I needed to say. Because I'd stood in that ballroom full of people and chosen myself over their approval. After an hour, I wiped my face, bought a terrible coffee from a vending machine, and got back on the road. I drove through the night, watching the sun rise over the Carolinas, stopping only for gas and bathroom breaks. I listened to music loud enough to drown out my thoughts. I ate gas station food that tasted like cardboard and freedom. 24 hours after I walked out of that anniversary party, I pulled up in front of my new apartment in Boston. A studio in the North End, tiny but mine, with exposed brick walls, and a window overlooking a narrow street lined with Italian restaurants and cafes. I unloaded my car in 3 trips. Everything I owned fit in 12 boxes and 4 suitcases. My entire life, condensed and portable and light. I stacked it all in the middle of the empty apartment, sat down on the hardwood floor, and looked around at my new beginning. My phone had been buzzing nonstop since I left Atlanta. 37 missed calls, 52 text messages, 12 voicemails. I scrolled through them without opening any. My father's messages were angry. My mother's were guilt-laden. Blair's were desperate. I blocked all their numbers. Then came the emails. Long, rambling messages from my mother about family obligation and forgiveness. Terse, demanding ones from my father about responsibility and duty. Desperate ones from Blair, apologizing and promising to change, and begging for one more chance. I created a filter that sent them all to a folder I never opened. 3 weeks into my new life, I was walking home from my favorite coffee shop when I saw Blair. Just standing on my corner, looking lost in jeans and a jacket, no makeup, her hair in a messy ponytail. She looked nothing like the polished socialite I'd grown up with. I stopped walking. For a moment, I considered turning around, going the other way. But this was my street, my neighborhood, my life. I wasn't going to hide anymore. She saw me and straightened up. "Audrey, please, just 5 minutes." I didn't say anything, just unlocked my building door and held it open. She followed me up 3 flights of stairs to my apartment. Inside, She looked around at my sparse furniture, my small space, my simple life. "This is nice," she said quietly. "It's very you." "What do you want, Blair?" She sat down on my second-hand couch without being invited, and I saw her hands were shaking. "The boutique is closed. I couldn't make rent after you left. I'm about to lose my condo. The bank wants to foreclose. I'm moving back in with Mom and Dad this weekend. I'm sorry that happened." "Are you?" She looked up at me, and there was real pain in her eyes. "Because it feels like you wanted this to happen." "I didn't want anything to happen to you. I wanted to stop being responsible for what happened to you. There's a difference." "I need help, Audrey. I'm drowning in debt. 20,000 in credit cards, 15,000 to the boutique landlord. I don't know what to do. And you came here thinking I would save you again. You're my sister. I was your ATM." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "That's not fair." "Yes, it is. When was the last time you asked how I was doing? When was the last time you cared about anything in my life that didn't benefit you directly? When was the last time you saw me as a person instead of a resource?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. She had no answer. "I loved you, Blair. You're my sister. I would have done anything for you. But you never loved me back. You loved what I could do for you." "That's not true." "It is true. Every conversation we've had for the last 5 years has been about what you needed. Your boutique, your problems, your dreams. You never once asked about mine. You never came to see my apartment until now, when you need something. You've never asked about my job, my life, my anything." She was crying now, quiet tears running down her face. "I didn't realize." "Yes, you did. You just didn't care. And honestly, I'm not even that mad at you anymore. You're a product of how Mom and Dad raised you. They taught you that you were special, that you deserved everything, that the world would give you what you wanted. They taught me that I was supposed to make that happen for you. I'm sorry," she whispered. "For all of it. For using you. For not paying you back. For standing there at the anniversary party while Dad humiliated you. I should have said something. I should have defended you. Yes, you should have, but you didn't, and that tells me everything I need to know." She stood up, walked to my window, looked out at the street below. "I've never had to struggle for anything. Everything always just worked out. Even when the boutique was failing, I knew you'd be there. Mom and Dad would be there. Someone would fix it. But now," she turned back to me, "now I'm alone, actually alone, and I don't know how to do this." "You'll figure it out. You're not stupid, Blair. You're just lazy. You've always taken the easy path because someone made an easy path for you. Now you have to build your own path." "I don't know how." "Learn. Get a regular job. Pay off your debts. Live within your means. Do what millions of people do every day. It's not complicated. It's just hard." "Will you help me? Not with money. Just advice?" I looked at my sister, 29 years old and finally facing consequences for the first time in her life. Part of me wanted to say yes, to guide her through this, to be the supportive sister I'd always tried to be, but a bigger part of me knew that helping her now would just be enabling her in a different way. "No," I said finally. "You need to do this yourself. If I help you, even with advice, you'll never really learn. You'll just find a new way to depend on me." "So, that's it? You're just done with me?" "I'm done being your safety net. If you want a real relationship with me someday, one where we're equals, where you actually care about me as a person, then maybe. But not now. Not like this. You have too much growing up to do first." She stood there for a long moment, tears streaming down her face. "I really am sorry, Audrey. I know you don't believe me, but I am." "Maybe you are. But sorry doesn't undo 5 years of using me. Sorry doesn't give me back my 20s. Sorry doesn't make us family again." She walked to the door, paused with her hand on the knob. "I hope you're happy here, in Boston. I really do." "I am happy. For the first time in my life, I'm actually happy." After she left, I locked the door and leaned against it. My chest felt tight, but not with sadness. With relief. I'd done it. I'd held my boundary. I'd chosen myself. The calls and emails eventually slowed down, then stopped altogether. 2 months into my new life, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was my mother, using a friend's phone because I'd blocked her number. "Your father had a heart attack. He's in the hospital. He's asking for you. Please call." I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me felt guilty. Of course I felt guilty. He was my father. He was sick. Shouldn't I be there? But another part of me, the part that had finally learned to protect myself, remembered his face at the anniversary party, remembered him telling 200 people that I took up space, remembered 27 years of being invisible. I texted back from a new number so she couldn't save it. I hope he recovers, but I won't be coming to Atlanta. Take care. Then I blocked that number too. A week later, I got a LinkedIn message from someone who'd been at the anniversary party. I don't know if you remember me, but I wanted to tell you how brave I thought you were. I've watched my sister be treated the same way you were for years, and I've never had the courage to say anything. Your speech gave me the push I needed. Thank you. More messages came. People I didn't know, people who'd heard the story, people who saw themselves in me. My phone number got shared somehow, and I started getting texts. My family treats me the same way. How did you find the strength to leave? I'm drowning in debt from my brother's emergencies. Your story made me realize I need to stop. I thought I was just escaping my own situation. I didn't realize I was giving other people permission to escape theirs. 6 months into my new life, I got a message from a reporter who wanted to interview me about financial abuse in families. I said no. This wasn't about publicity. This was about survival. But I did start a blog, anonymous, just sharing my story and what I'd learned about setting boundaries, recognizing manipulation, understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup. I called it Taking Up Space. It got 10,000 readers in the first month, then 50,000, then 100,000. People sent me their stories. Daughters who funded their siblings' addictions. Sons who paid their parents' mortgages while living in poverty. People who'd been taught that love meant sacrifice, even when the sacrifice destroyed them. I realized I wasn't alone. I'd never been alone. There were thousands of us, millions maybe, all taught to set ourselves on fire to keep other people warm. At work, I thrived. David Preston, the managing partner, gave me the freedom to build something real. I hired a team of 5 brilliant accountants, took on clients that other firms wouldn't touch, solved problems that seemed impossible. My first-year bonus was $43,000. Combined with my salary, I made more money in my first year in Boston than I'd made in 3 years in Atlanta. I bought actual furniture. A real bed frame. A couch that didn't come from Facebook Marketplace. Art for my walls. I took myself to nice dinners. I bought clothes that made me feel confident instead of invisible. I started running along the Charles River on Saturday mornings. I joined a book club. I went on dates with men who didn't know my family history, who saw me as Audrey the person instead of Audrey the failure daughter. I made friends. Real friends. Sarah, who lived in my building and worked as a nurse at Massachusetts General. Marcus, who was on my team at work and had a terrible sense of humor that made me laugh until I cried. Lisa, who I met at the book club, and who understood what it was like to be the scapegoat child. I built a life, my life, not the life my parents wanted for me. Not the life Blair needed me to have so she could keep taking. My life. A year after I left Atlanta, on the anniversary of the day I walked out of that party, I treated myself to dinner at a nice restaurant in the North End. I sat alone at a table by the window, eating handmade pasta and drinking good wine, watching people walk by outside. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me look. It's Blair. Using a friend's phone. I know you blocked me. I wanted you to know I got a job. Retail manager at a department store. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. I'm paying off my debts. Slowly. I'm in therapy. I'm learning why I am the way I am. I don't expect you to care or respond. I just wanted you to know that you were right. About everything. I'm sorry it took me losing everything to figure that out. I hope you're happy in Boston. You deserve to be happy. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to offer encouragement, to be proud of her, but I wasn't ready. Maybe I'd never be ready. I typed back, I'm glad you're getting help. Keep going. Then I deleted the message thread and finished my pasta. 2 years after I left Atlanta, I got promoted to Director of Tax Services, the youngest director in Preston & Associates history. $140,000 a year. A corner office. My name on the door. Patricia flew up from Atlanta for my promotion party. She hugged me tight and whispered, I always knew you were special. I'm so proud of you. Someone was proud of me, and for the first time in my life, I was proud of myself too. I bought a real apartment. 1 bedroom, exposed brick, a kitchen where I could actually cook, a balcony where I could drink my coffee and watch the city wake up. I hung photos on the walls, not of my family, of my friends. My team. The places I'd traveled to on my own. Evidence of a life lived on my own terms. Sometimes, late at night when I couldn't sleep, I thought about that girl I used to be. 22 and sitting in a bank, signing away $15,000 because she thought love looked like sacrifice. 25 and working herself to exhaustion because she thought achievement would make her visible. 27 and standing at an anniversary party, being told she took up space. I wanted to go back and tell her it gets better. Tell her she's enough exactly as she is. Tell her that walking away doesn't make her selfish or bad or wrong. Tell her that choosing herself is the bravest thing she'll ever do. But I couldn't go back. I could only go forward. And forward was pretty damn good. 3 years after I left Atlanta, I got an email from my mother, not to an account I'd blocked, but to my work email. She must have found it on the firm's website. Audrey, I know you don't want to hear from me. I respect that, but I need to tell you something. Your father and I are getting divorced. The anniversary party was the beginning of the end. People started asking questions about how we treated you. Our friends started distancing themselves. His business partners questioned his judgment. My charity boards asked me to step down. Everything we built fell apart. And in the rubble, we realized we didn't actually like each other very much. We just liked the image we projected. I'm moving to a condo. He's moving to a house downtown. Blair lives with him. I can't handle her anymore. I'm writing to tell you that you were right. About everything. I'm sorry we failed you. I'm sorry we chose Blair's comfort over your well-being. I'm sorry we made you feel invisible. You deserved better parents. I hope someday you can forgive us, but I understand if you can't. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be happy. I read that email 3 times. I felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, not vindication. Just nothing. They'd lost everything, and I felt nothing. No, that wasn't true. I felt relieved. Relieved that their perfect image had shattered. Relieved that other people finally saw what I'd lived with. Relieved that I wasn't crazy. That it really had been as bad as I thought. I didn't respond to the email. There was nothing to say. Sorry didn't undo 27 years. Sorry didn't give me back my 20s. Sorry didn't make us a family. I saved the email in a folder and moved on with my day. 5 years after I left Atlanta, I met someone. A good man named Daniel who worked in software engineering, who made me laugh, who respected my boundaries, who never once made me feel like I needed to be anyone other than who I was. He knew my whole story. I told him on our 3rd date, expecting him to run. Instead, he'd said, "That must have been incredibly painful. I'm glad you got out." We dated for 2 years before getting engaged. Small wedding, just us and our closest friends. No family, just the people who actually loved us, who'd chosen us and kept choosing us. On my wedding day, getting ready in my apartment, I got a text from Blair. Another new number. "I heard through the grapevine that you're getting married today. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. I hope he's good to you. You deserve someone who's good to you." I showed Daniel the text. "Do you want to respond?" I thought about it. Thought about Blair in therapy, Blair working retail, Blair finally taking responsibility for her life. Thought about the sister I'd once loved, before I understood that love requires reciprocity. "No," I said finally. "Not today. Today is about us." He kissed my forehead. "Today is about us." We got married in a small ceremony in Boston Common. Sarah was my maid of honor. Marcus walked me down the aisle because I'd asked him to and he'd cried when he said yes. Lisa read a poem about choosing your family. Daniel's parents welcomed me with open arms, told me they were proud to call me their daughter. People were proud of me. People chose me. Not because of what I could do for them, but because of who I was. Standing there in my simple white dress, holding Daniel's hands, promising to love and support and choose each other every day, I felt something I'd never felt before. Complete, whole, enough. That night, lying in bed in our hotel room, Daniel traced patterns on my shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" "My family. How I spent so long trying to earn their love. How I thought if I just achieved more, sacrificed more, made myself smaller, eventually they'd see me. And now? Now I know that you can't earn love that should be freely given. You can't make people value you if they're determined not to. All you can do is walk away and build a life with people who already see your worth." "I see your worth," he said quietly. "I know you do. That's why I married you." He kissed me, soft and gentle. "I love you, Audrey Montgomery Chen." I'd kept Montgomery as part of my name. Not for them, for me. as a reminder that I survived them, that I built something beautiful from the wreckage they left behind. I love you too. Now, 7 years after I walked out of that anniversary party, I'm 34 years old. I'm a partner at Preston and Associates. I make more than $250,000 a year. I own a brownstone in Beacon Hill with my husband and our dog, a rescue mutt named Charlie. I have friends who know my whole story and love me anyway. I have a career I'm proud of. I have a life I built myself, from scratch, with my own hands. I haven't spoken to my parents in 7 years, haven't seen them, barely think about them anymore. Sometimes I wonder if they think about me, if my father regrets what he said at that party, if my mother understands what she lost, but mostly, I don't wonder. They're not part of my story anymore. Blair sends me a text every year on my birthday, nothing big, just, happy birthday. I usually respond, thank you. Sometimes we exchange a few more messages. How are you? I'm good, that's good. Surface level, safe, we'll never be close again. But maybe, someday, we'll be something. I don't know. I'm not in a hurry to find out. Last month, I got an email from a young woman named Sophie, 23, first real job, first apartment. She'd found my blog. I have a sister who keeps asking me for money. My parents say I should help her because she's family. But reading your story made me realize that family shouldn't feel like drowning. I said no for the first time yesterday. She's not speaking to me. My parents are upset, but I feel lighter than I have in years. Thank you for showing me it's okay to choose myself. I stared at those words for a long time. Then I wrote back, it's more than okay to choose yourself. It's necessary. You can't save someone who's drowning if you're drowning too. Set your boundaries, hold them, build your life. You deserve to take up space. 7 years ago, I thought taking up space was the worst thing I could do. My father said it at his anniversary party in front of 200 people, and I believed him. I believed that my existence was an inconvenience, that my needs were burdensome, that making myself smaller would somehow make me more lovable. I was wrong. Taking up space isn't selfish. It's survival. It's the difference between existing and actually living. It's understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup, that you can't set yourself on fire to keep others warm, that love shouldn't require you to destroy yourself. They told me I took up space like it was an insult, like I should apologize for breathing, for wanting, for mattering, and for 27 years I tried to shrink. I folded myself into smaller and smaller boxes, convinced that if I could just disappear enough, they'd finally love me. But disappearing doesn't make you lovable, it makes you invisible. Now, I take up space deliberately. I take up space in rooms without apologizing for my presence. I take up space in my career without downplaying my achievements. I take up space in my marriage without fear that wanting things makes me demanding. I take up space in conversations, in decisions, in my own damn life, and I will never, ever make myself small again. Not for my parents, not for Blair, not for anyone. This isn't revenge. Revenge would mean I still cared enough to want to hurt them back. This is something else entirely. This is choosing peace over chaos, choosing myself over their approval, choosing a life where I matter, not because I'm useful or convenient or quiet, but because I exist. That's the lesson it took me 27 years to learn. You don't have to earn the right to take up space. You don't have to achieve enough, sacrifice enough, shrink enough to deserve love. You already deserve it. You always did. The people who truly love you won't ask you to disappear. They won't require you to set yourself on fire to prove your devotion. They won't measure your worth by how much you're willing to lose. Real love makes space for you. It doesn't demand you give up your space for others. I think about Sophie sometimes, 23 and already learning what took me until 27. I think about all the others who've written to me, shared their stories, found the courage to say no. I think about how many of us there are, walking around with this weight, believing that being a good daughter, a good sister, a good person means disappearing. We've been taught wrong. Being good doesn't mean being gone. Loving your family doesn't mean losing yourself. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who will never see your worth, so you can finally see it yourself. 7 years ago, I walked out of that anniversary party with nothing but a packed car and a wounded heart. I thought I was running away. I thought I was giving up. I thought I was the selfish one. Now I know I was running toward something, toward freedom, toward a life where I didn't have to audition for love, toward people who chose me not because they needed something from me, but because they genuinely wanted me in their lives. That's what I want you to understand. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself in my story, if you're the one funding someone else's dream while yours collects dust, if you're the one apologizing for existing, if you're the one making yourself smaller, hoping it'll make you more lovable, hear me. You are not the problem. You never were. The people who should love you but can't see you, they're not bad people necessarily. They're just not your people. And you are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to protect yourself. You are allowed to choose a life where you matter. It won't be easy. Walking away never is. There will be guilt and grief and moments where you question everything. There will be people who call you selfish, who say you're abandoning your family, who try to pull you back into the role you've outgrown. There will be nights where you wonder if you made the right choice. But then there will be mornings where you wake up without that weight on your chest, evenings where you realize you haven't thought about them all day, moments where you laugh without restraint, love without fear, exist without apologizing, and you'll know you made the right choice. Because the only person you're guaranteed to spend your whole life with is yourself, and you deserve to spend that life with someone you actually like, someone who takes up space unapologetically, someone who knows their worth, someone who refuses to disappear. You deserve to be that someone. So here's my question for you, and I want you to really think about it. Are you living your life, or are you living around someone else's? Are you taking up space, or are you apologizing for existing? Are you choosing yourself, or are you still waiting for permission? If you're still waiting, consider this your permission. From someone who waited too long, from someone who nearly lost herself trying to be enough for people who would never think she was, from someone who finally learned that the only approval that matters is your own. Choose yourself. Take up space. Build a life so full of genuine love and real achievement and actual joy that you forget what it felt like to be invisible. You matter. Your story matters. Your space in this world matters. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Drop your story in the comments if you're ready to share it. Hit subscribe if you want more stories about choosing yourself over settling for crumbs. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Your revolution starts with one word: no. Mine started 7 years ago at an anniversary party. When does yours begin?